I recreated one of my most popular Scratch games using Unity. And here's how things went. Hello everyone, Fuelvin here. So if you don't know already, I've been on Scratch for over 8 years and have quite a few previously front-paged projects. And today I'm going to use Unity Game Engine to recreate Hobo Simulator, which is one of the largest projects that I've made in Scratch and is also one of my most popular projects. So this is how the game works. You start off as a hobo in the city, and your goal is to enter the Gentleman's Club and become a gentleman, which is essentially a guy wearing a hat and suit. To do so, you must earn money to buy a suit and get a high reputation, which you can get by completing various tasks and doing specific interactions with NPCs. However, you don't want to lose too much reputation through negative interactions, or else you lose the game. Now that we know how the game works, let's recreate that using Unity. But before we continue, this video is sponsored by GameDev.tv. GameDev.tv makes some of the most popular game development courses on Udemy, with over 250,000 positive reviews. And now they have their own website featuring course content ranging from C# and C++ programming to 3D modeling using Blender. I tried out their beginner Unity course bundle and really enjoyed learning how to make several different 2D and 3D web games through their high quality step-by-step tutorials. So I highly recommend you to follow their beginner Unity course bundle. And right now, GameDev.tv is offering this course on their website for just $39, which is 85% off. This discount only lasts for a limited time, so be sure to click the link in the description below and buy your copy of the course before the sale ends. Anyways, back to the video. After opening a new Unity project, I slapped on a sidewalk and city background, which is really just a bunch of different colored rectangles. And I also made my player sprite, which is a potato-shaped looking dude. After that, I added him in the game scene, and now we have our hobo, which is our player, in the middle of the city. So now we want our player to actually be able to move. So I added in some basic player movement and a scrolling background script. As you can see, the player moved when I pressed the left and right arrow keys, but it was levitating around like it's Doctor Strange, so I had to add in a player walk animation. I separated the arms and legs, and then drew an animation for each of them. Then I loaded the arms and legs into Unity, and then combined them all together in the animation editor. So now we had a smooth looking walk cycle for the player. Tell me this does not look way more crisp than the old hobo walk cycle. The next thing to add was the dumpster, where the player will have the option to dumpster dive into. So I drew up a dumpster sprite, and now we have a dumpster just sitting around. Next, I wanted the player to be able to interact with the dumpster, so I added a yellow highlight whenever the player walked by the dumpster, and made it so that the player can jump inside of the dumpster when you press the up arrow key. So now when you go over here and press the up arrow, then oh, it seems like the player got abducted by aliens. So the dumpster diving didn't work exactly as I intended, and I got a lot of errors in the editor, but after a quick bug fix, the player was able to jump in and out of the dumpster as normal and not get transcended into a different realm. Next up, I wanted to show some options on the screen once the player interacts with the dumpster, but I wanted to make them cooler in this version, so I made some buttons and added in some super advanced animations. Just look at the complexity in these 3 frames of animation. And now I had some buttons that appeared when the player interacts with the dumpster. Now, I felt that the interaction UI I had in my Scratch project was pretty janky, so I spent some time creating a text box at the bottom that showed a description in addition to the button choices when the player interacts with something. So now when the player interacts with a dumpster, there's a nice little text box that tells the player that that is indeed a dumpster, and displays the interaction choices. Since I'm going to be using this text box for not only the dumpster, but also for other future interactable objects, I made it pretty flexible in that I can set anything for the description and the button choice text, and the text box will dynamically adjust. And naturally, I had to test it out by making the dumpster description say part of the B movie script. I also made it so that the player sometimes finds cash when he dumpster dives, and now the dumpster interaction is fully complete. The next thing to add was the store, where the player can buy some items. I drew up a better version of the store sprite, plopped it in the Unity project, and got the store image in the game. So I spent some time implementing an inside room that appears when the player enters through the door, and this was a rough initial version of what I wanted. However, as you can see, aside from the outside still being visible, the player got all jittery when it collided with the walls, so I had to fix that. I ended up changing the script execution order, which I know sounds like a sketchy fix to any Unity experts watching this video, but based on my code structure and how I coded the player, I'm quite confident that it was a simple and effective way to solve the issue. But I don't know, maybe my project internally explodes the next time I try to run it. But anyways, now when the player entered the store, there was a black background covering the outside, and we had our inside of the store with working wall collision. Now for the second part of my store implementation, I wanted to add a cashier. So I drew up the main body of the cashier. I also separated out the head, eyes, and mouth from the player body. And this is so that it would be easier to customize my characters later on. I had to update the player accordingly, because if I save my newly updated changes over, then the player gets decapitated. But now with my new changes, I have the freedom to change just the eyes, mouth, or head at will. Anyways, my player works like normal, and I added the cashier into the game. And right now, he's just chilling outside. So I moved him in the store and added in a desk for the cashier. Next up, I had to add collision for the cashier desk. And oops, I forgot to lock the player's rotation. I then fixed the error, and no matter what the player does, he can't go past the desk. Next up, I added UI for some cash and added some items for the player to buy when he interacts with the cashier. Then I also added an advanced inventory system with 4 whole item slots, and now the player can hold a loaf of bread and a shovel. Now that my shop is complete, I had to add in the rest of my in-game NPCs. So I drew up an old man sitting on a bench and a seagull, and added them into the game. I then added in some interactions so you can beg the old man for money or annoy a seagull. Bruh. After that, I added some special interactions that appear when you hold certain items. So for example, if you're holding a loaf of bread in your inventory and interact with a seagull, then you have the feed bread to seagull option, and you get some interactions with the seagull and the old man. And now the seagull and old man interactions are complete, so if I just feed the seagull some bread and then beg for money, then the old man gives me some. Next up, I have to add in some rich people, or the dudes wearing top hats and suits. So I drew up a rich person sprite and added it into the game. This was my first NPC that would have a walk cycle, so I had to do a lot of gameplay testing. And in my first playthrough, my NPC is sort of just moonwalking really fast all over the place. But I was able to fix the problems, and I had a working NPC interaction. I really smoothed out the interaction animation with the NPC, so when you talk to a rich person, they stop walking and face towards the player, and the player also repositions itself so that he is within normal, comfortable talking range with the NPC, unlike in my old game where the player is essentially grazing the NPC's body while they're talking. So now if you wanted to, you could beg the NPC for some cash and they would give you some. The next step was to add several rich people in the game, which was really easy to do. And now this place looks like a mob front, but I'm going to keep this amount of NPCs in the game, but just spread them out. And since all of my rich people NPCs are essentially the same prefab, I can create as many as I want. Oops, I think that's one too many. Now that my rich people NPCs are done, all I have to do is to add in my last few NPCs, which is the balloon cart guy, which, as you guessed it, sells balloons, and also a crying child. And with all of my NPCs done, now it's time to add reputation. So if you do certain actions, such as beg, then you lose reputation. But let's try helping this child out. So I buy a balloon, then give this crying child a balloon. Then as you can see, I have gained some reputation. Now the next thing I wanted to do is to spice up the dumpster dive option a bit, because right now you can just dumpster dive at any given point and get free money. To make it more interesting, now if you dumpster dive in front of someone, then you lose reputation. So you have to time your dumpster dives so that there's no rich people looking at you while you're diving around. The final thing I wanted to add is the Gentleman's Club, which is essentially the endgame. The player needs to get a suit to enter the club, which they can buy in the shop. But not only that, the player will also need to get a high enough reputation to enter. So I drew up the building here and added it into the game, and now we got our working Gentleman's Club. And that's pretty much the whole game. The only thing that I forgot to add was that you would lose the game if your reputation drops to 0. But you won't be able to win the game if your reputation drops low enough anyways, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Anyways, gameplay time. Alright, so I am just spawned in. As you can see, I have $0 and I have a pretty low reputation. Okay, I'm gonna try dumpster diving. So I'm gonna dive inside of this dumpster. Hopefully no one sees me. All right, cool. Found $3. All good. Let's see, what do I do next? So, okay, I'm gonna go inside of the store here. So I'm gonna enter, and we have a cashier. All right, we can buy some stuff. So obviously I can't buy the shovel or the suit yet, so I'm going to buy the bread. All right, I have a bread in my inventory. Awesome. Let's see what I can do with that. So, okay, hello, balloon man. Okay, I do not want any balloons right now because I have no money. Let me look at the seagull. Ooh, okay. Let me just look at it. Cool. What if I feed a bread? Okay, well, the seagull just took my bread. But the old man likes it, so I gained some reputation. Let's talk to the old man here. I'll beg for some money. Got some cash. Got $15. That is pretty good. I will now buy a balloon. So I have a balloon in my inventory. Okay, these rich people look pretty mean, so I don't really want to beg, but I'll just beg for some cash. Why not? Okay, fine, here's some money and leave me alone. Okay, I got a lot of money. Wow. My reputation decreased though. Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, let's see this crying child. Let me give this balloon to this child. Okay, looks like the child is now happy. All right, gained a lot of reputation. Let's try seeing what this gentleman's club is. Let me try entering. Okay, I can't enter. Just lost some reputation from that. Let's go inside of the store. All right, I'm gonna buy a suit. So now I'm all dripped up, and I'm going to go inside of the club. And cool, looks like I won the game. So yeah, that was the good playthrough of the game. I just completed it, and that was the good ending. And that's the entire process of how I recreated my Hobo Simulator Scratch project using Unity Game Engine. Should I finish this and make this into an actual game? What game should I make next? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, that's it for this video. See ya!